hockey fans, are you ready to brave the wild with me, your host, Paladino Joey, or Joey Awajan? Brave the Wild is available on all of your favorite podcasting apps and also on the Hockey Podcast Network. Thank you always, Dylan and Kyle, for having me on board that awesome network. Really appreciate it. Thank you once and always for downloading and listening to the show. It is a great pleasure to be back on board with you once again today. The All-Star break is over. Whether you like it or not, we're back playing again. The Minnesota Wild played one game since then, just last night against the Chicago Blackhawks. Timberwolves played in Chicago as well and lost. What the heck? Listen to that show tomorrow. Timberwolves explosion. They lost to the Bulls. I don't know. It's like Minnesota just seems to find a way. I don't know. Every time it's a good season, you find a way to just start kind of falling apart as the season progresses. I'm sorry. I'll get off of that right away. The Wild won over the Chicago Blackhawks 2-1. Not the most exciting game you ever saw. And then we have 3 games to preview coming up as the NHL season hath continued. Yes, sir. We can jump right into the Blackhawks now. I think this is going to be 3 segments. I keep kind of wavering back and forth, wishy-washy, Charlie Brown in the back of my head right now. Old wishy-washy. At least Lucy won't pull the ball away from me because I'm not falling for that one. Just like with the Wild, I'm not falling for, they beat the Blackhawks, and we're worth 4 points of the postseason. Sure we are. We're just right there. We're just knocking on the door of the playoffs. That's great. But Zach Parise, he's going to get a hat trick against us if we play against the Avalanche in the first round. He's going to kill us the whole time. And then Suter will beat us up and injure Kirill Kaprizov again if we play against the Stars again. And then Jason Robertson will get 15 goals against you know how that works. Anyhow, and we'll score 1 goal on like 700 shots. Sounds about right, actually. It really does. Then we have Fleury night. The Pittsburgh Penguins. There's going to be a celebration that night with Marc-Andre Fleury and all that. So against the Pittsburgh Penguins coming up. There's also a really cool book coming out. What's it called? Mirage of Destiny. Coming out very soon. Looking forward to that. Talking about the 1990 and 91 North Stars. That is, wow. It's a little on the pricey side, but it's like $35 on Amazon. But if anybody's in, I'm in. It's the North Stars. Dang it! And that was one of the most magical seasons in Minnesota sports history. Unfortunately, did not parallel with the Twins later on that season. Unfortunately, doggone it. I wish it did. But, I don't know, Pittsburgh had like 19 star players. Holy cow. I mean, just look at the 1991 Pittsburgh Penguins lineup, say like Hockey Database. Just look at that team and look at who was on that team and how productive they were. Even the guys that were hurt and out for a significant amount of time. That's the thing. It's like, holy cow. You consider who we beat. Chicago, best record in the NHL. St. Louis, second best record in the NHL. Edmonton Oilers, defending Cup champions, and all of that. During that season, North Stars had the easiest time with them, if you can believe it. And then Pittsburgh, it's like, oh come on, my goodness, it's like Normandy for Pete's sake. Too soon, but no, that was like Normandy, unfortunately, especially after the 2-1 lead in the series. Then it was Normandy. After that, yeah, damn it, Anyhow, the 2-1 win over the Chicago Blackhawks. Well, harkening back to the good old days, the Blackhawks and the Penguins. It's so familiar. It feels like we're right back there again. No, it doesn't, except for the fact Chris Chelios was on the desk on TNT. This was a nationally broadcast game. Yeah, nationally broadcast game. Well, I'm glad it was. It was fun to watch. You got to see the Foligno brothers be productive. Of course, Nick Foligno with his 10th goal of the season, tying it up after Jake Lushini from Vinny Lettieri. They're part of that. They're part of that. They're part of that group. I'm just messing around. But, it's Vinny Lettieri had a hell of a game, let's be honest. Marcus Foligno had the game-winning goal. Brock Faber started that play. Vinny Lettieri, patient, waiting, and kind of put it on net, sort of, and Foligno directed it into the net for his 9th goal of the season. Celebrated that tight end, that one tight end for the Chiefs style, kind of. I don't know. I don't want to think about that guy. Come on, Marcus, stop trying to look like him. I don't even want to think about it. Go 49ers, that is all. Go 49ers. Marcus Foligno, 9th goal of the season. Nice game for him. Obviously one of his better games of the year, I'd have to say. Again, which, it is what it is. Brock Faber, though. outside of Vinny Lettieri and Jake Lashini having, very feel-good moments there, especially Lettieri in a lot of ways. Holy cow. Brock Faber, 30 points. That's a nice little milestone for a rookie. And also getting national recognition on the desk there at TNT. The panel there on TNT is a better way to put it. National recognition for Brock Faber, and during the course of the game. They kept saying 29 points after he recorded his 30th with the 26th assist, but that's okay. Then they continue to talk about the Calder Cup, or the Calder Trophy. The Calder Cup, I believe, is the AHL championship, isn't it? But the Calder Trophy, pardon me, for Brock Faber, which is, of course, Rookie of the Year. And pretty dang cool. They're talking about how he's been, obviously logging incredible amount of minutes, especially not too long ago, but kind of getting it back again. Jonas Brodin was unavailable in this game, but by some miracle, the Wild only gave up 1 goal. Could have easily been 2. A ill-advised play by Philip Gustafsson, again, after having a pretty good game. In fact, making one of the best kick saves of the season. That was spectacular. Much to the chagrin of the Chicago Blackhawks. Great save. Kick save. He only stopped 20 shots, which is kind of funny. But one of the shots on goal was saved by Vinny Lettieri. For some reason, I thought he had a goal. I was going to say, what kind of hat trick might that be? A goal, assist, and a save. But no, that was Jake Lashini that scored the goal. It would have been funny. That would have been a really funny hat trick, to be quite honest. But Gustafsson, to the point, made a play outside of the net, an ill-advised pass, getting out of the net and making an ill-advised pass, a turnover that looked like a goal, in any game, basically, except if it was Govers versus Quinnipiac. Of course, we'd find a way to miss the net or something. Yeah, not bitter about that at all. Not at all. Okay. But Vinny Lettieri making a great kick save of his own off the skate. That was awesome. So, Vinny Lettieri, 2 assists, and making a game-saving stop, or game-saving save, or game whatever. But he made the save. Again, multi-point game for Vinny Lettieri. At the end of the day, that's a Mike Modano award. I mean, he has to get it. And so Vinny Lettieri will get his first Mike Modano award. I'm jumping in real early on that one. And it's like, at the end of the day, is there all that much to say about this game? It was a last-place team versus a second-last-place team. And I'm not trying to be a jerk about it, but it kind of sort of looked like a last-place team against a second-last-place team in a lot of ways. Did the guys play well enough to win? Yes. But who did they beat? They beat the Chicago Blackhawks. This is not, the dynasty team of 2010 to 2015. That was a pretty damn good hockey team. And unfortunately, even the regular season wins in those cases ended up being all for naught once the postseason started. We'd have a really good regular season. Oh, we'll show those SOBs, and we'd win, and we'd give all our effort. And then here come the playoffs, and we'd still lose 4 games to 1. So that was insanely frustrating in the past. Of course, Rossi's kind of being miscast a little bit. That's kind of the frustration, I think, with John Hines a bit. That Ryan Hartman's right back with the same line again. Ryan Hartman, Zuccarello, Kaprizov. Again, yeah, that looks familiar. It does. Did they win Stanley Cups? Did they get out of the first round? No. So, I don't know. I just don't know. Obviously, Maroon is out for an undisclosed amount of time. Not really sure what's going on there. It's fine. Lettieri, Lashini. And it is ironic how we were all kind of like, Adam Beckman, here we go. And this is his chance, just not tonight. That was what Bill Guerin said. So you had Lashini and Lettieri, and it's funny how they both contributed. So it's like, uh-oh. Because we're all kind of like, Adam Beckman, it's time. It's time for Adam Beckman to either be an NHL player, or I guess he's an AHL guy who might get called up and maybe finally, stick when he's 28, 29, like some of those guys out there. Sometimes, if he keeps fighting and persisting. I hope that isn't the case for Adam Beckman. Obviously, he has a skill set, but I don't think it's translated even as much to the AHL as a lot of us have thought. At least Rossi basically led the team in scoring for the most part when he was in Iowa. And eventually, after working his butt off this last summer, even skipping his sister's wedding, can you believe that? To finally be pretty close to what a lot of us were hoping he would become, at least as a rookie and beyond. We'll see how it goes with Marco Rossi. But again, he's been miscast now, pushed down in the lineup. So a lot of us a little irritated with that, like I was saying. But yeah, back to Beckman. I mean, I don't know. as Bill Guerin might say. Bill Guerin, yeah, Bill, you have something to say about him?
I don't know.
Come on, Bill. Jeez. Anyhow. Okay, Billy. Sorry. I guess he doesn't like to be called Bill. It's Billy. Come on, Billy. Get him in there. Billy Goat. But, Billy Goats anyway. I don't know. It's just like, I don't know. We'll see. Obviously, Chisholm, no action yet. Seems like no action at all either. He was interviewed in the game, during the game. Yep. Looking forward to seeing what he can do. I think a lot of us would rather see him out there than, one of the two guys. Ellis Goligoski and Nick Foligno going at it back and forth quite a bit. Looked like a little bit of old, frustrations with each other over the years. It just happens. I don't think it was just a random in-game thing. I think it's kind of a little bit extra going on there, but that's how it goes. They're older guys who've been around forever, and they've had their clashes in the Eastern Conference. Now they're here in the West, of course, but, the Penguins days and such, I'm sure, with Goligoski. And I suppose he's kind of been all over the place, hasn't he? Generally a decent career until, now. Poor guy. But, yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see what Chisholm can do. He can move the puck. He can skate a bit, so... and a lot of Winnipeg fans not all that thrilled that he's gone, but it's kind of like there was no room, that type of thing. So kind of giving him an opportunity to a team that wants him and needs him. So we'll see what happens with Mr. Declan. As for the trade deadline and all that, well, a lot of us still kind of still would prefer that this team is more of a seller than a buyer. Don't give up assets right now, valuable assets for the future. That could, I'm just staring at something, sorry, that is related to this game, but, yeah, don't give up assets that'll just hurt us more than help us in the future. So that would be a pain in the butt. And then, just to get some third-line center who's going to, make mistakes, like a Ryan White. What was he, like a fourth-line winger or whatever, and he was pathetic. He never played again. That's how bad he was. Remember Ryan White? I mean, he was pathetic. Speaking of Ryan and being pathetic, Ryan Hartman, top center for the Minnesota Wild. You ready for this? And this is the Blackhawks, folks. And no Connor Bedard. This isn't the Oilers who won 16 games in a row. This isn't the Boston Bruins who have the best record in the league or second best or whatever. Vancouver Canucks or whoever. Face-offs. 15 face-offs. 3 wins, 12 losses.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Not like Marco Rossi is the best face-off guy in the history of the planet. I mean, he was 5 of 7, but still less face-offs, and he still won more. So I'll take 5. I'll take 5 and 7 any day versus 3 and 12. It's pathetic. And I know it's one game and but Ryan Hartman is not a number one center. He's just not. I mean, unless we're quote unquote tanking, I suppose. But why would the coach tank? Coaches and players don't tank. The management tanks by trading players away. I know how that works. Not one single player wants to lose. Not one single coach wants to lose. Blah, blah, blah. So this is just, it's being done by design in terms of Ryan Hartman should be the top line center. So a little bit of same old at the end of the day. This was, again, this wasn't national broadcast hockey, really, when it comes to quality. But at least it was a close game. There was a little bit of quote unquote drama in it, I suppose. And you had the Foligno brothers to talk about. And thank God you had Brock Faber to talk about and Kirill Kaprizov as well. Unfortunately, no Connor Bedard. I'm sure they were hoping for that, but obviously not meant to be with the broken jaw Dealey. So I already passed out the Mike Modano Award very early, very, very early. Very unorthodox on this show. Vinny Lettieri will get that. The James Shepard Memorial Popcorn Maker, whatever you want to call it, could almost go to Gustafsson for that stupid play. I mean, we could have lost the game at the end of the day. It could also go to it could go to Ryan Hartman for sucking so bad in the face-off circle. I think I want to go to that. I mean, you could 3 of 12 versus 3 and 12, so it's 3 of 15 basically against the Blackhawks. Good God, that's bad. How can you be that bad? It's pathetic. So I guess I'll go with Hartman just like that statistic alone. It's probably mean and harsh and unnecessary for me to give it to him, but I'm going to. That's pathetic. With that said, I guess we're going to make it 3 segments. What the hell? 3 segments. Second segment will be the upcoming 3 games, prospects, and of course, third segment is your favorite fan interaction. back here on Brave the Wild, segment number 2. Time to do some previewing, but first, let's hear from our sponsor, DraftKings. Looking for a super offer for Super Bowl 58? DraftKings Sportsbook has you covered. New customers can bet on the big game and turn $5 into $200 instantly in bonus bets. That would be awesome. As for the Super Bowl itself, the bets, the betting line and such, the money line is for the 49ers is minus 122, the Kansas City Chiefs plus 102, the spread minus 2 for the Niners, minus 105, and plus 2 for the Chiefs, minus 115. Now, as for my rooting interest, I think you know, San Francisco. I can't stand the Chiefs, so we'll leave that at that. I will not be giving you any advice because I'm not supposed to at the end of the day. Let's look at a couple of hockey games real quick. Really quick, yeah, Vancouver and Boston rematch of the 2011 finals, and who knows, maybe we'll get that. That'd be pretty fun to watch. And I don't know, for a feel-good story, it'd be nice to see Vancouver finally win, but I don't know, a lot of it might say Boston. Puck line or money line? Well, I guess I'll say puck line, since minus 218 for... Why did it change? Okay, that was last time. I apologize. Yeah, I was like, that seems familiar. Colorado Avalanche at Carolina, that's an epic one. Minus 218 for Colorado, plus 180 for the Carolina Hurricanes. Washington Capitals at Panthers, Panthers plus 100, Capitals minus 120. I'm just going to kind of skim through. Oh, yeah, there is Vancouver and Boston. So they must be playing again. Yep, okay. I don't know why it moved. That's weird. Vancouver Canucks at Boston. This is, again, the puck line. Vancouver's plus 1.5, and then minus 225. Boston minus 1.5 plus 185 for the Boston Bruins. So they're the host, but it looks like Vancouver's favored. Great matchup, obviously. Then you get the matchup in the Southwest. The team that ended the streak for the Edmonton Oilers, and probably the most appropriate team, the defending Stanley Cup champions, the team of gold, the Vegas Golden Knights at Arizona. Southwest matchup, plus 1.5, plus 170, and Arizona plus... it was minus 1.5 with Vegas, plus 1.5 and minus 205 for the Arizona Coyotes. So those are the puck lines for a few teams out there for National Hockey League conversation. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use code THPN. That would be for the Hockey Podcast Network, of course. New customers can bet $5 to get $200 instantly in bonus bets only on DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of Super Bowl 58 with code THPN. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 8778-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY, which is 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 plus, age varies by jurisdiction, void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. See dkng.com/football for eligibility and deposit restrictions, terms, and responsible gambling resources. Thank you very much, DraftKings. And on we go to talk about the Pittsburgh Penguins Flurry Night. This will be on ESPN Plus, but I suppose that's common now. X Energy Center, Bally Sports North, blah, blah. Noel Aciari, the Penguins announced Aciari will not return to the game back on Jan 6th. Interesting. Matt Nieto underwent successful... I've never seen that one. Am I crazy or what? Laparoscopic surgery on his right knee. Interesting. Expected recovery 6 to 8 weeks. That'd be way back in December. So, I don't know. You'd think he'd be back by now, but who knows? Maybe he is. Jonas Berdine was not feeling good, basically. Against the Blackhawks, Pat Maroon, injured reserve. No information on Feb 5th. Connor Dewar, injured reserve as of Jan 19th. That'd be the Wild, of course. No kidding. Connor Dewar, who you never know. You never know. His replacement might be Merit Uznadinov. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Pittsburgh Penguins 25th in goals, less than the Wild. Okay. 25th in goals, 17th for the Wild. Pittsburgh, number 2 in goals against, 23rd for the Wild. Interesting. Very interesting. Pittsburgh Penguins beat the Wild 4-3 back on December 18th. remember that one, I guess. Yeah, that was disappointing. Penguins have the 30th best power play in the league with healthy Sidney Crosby and Malkin. Okay. And Jay Gensel. So there's rumors of Jay Gensel possibly going to the Oilers in a trade, which would... All right. Well, Edmonton just might be doing something special. But both teams are pretty funky in one of the special teams here. Again, power play 17th for the Wild, 30th for Pittsburgh. I just said that. Penalty 10th for penalty kill, 10th for Pittsburgh, 30th for the Wild. Pittsburgh is number 2 in the league at staying out of the box. The Wild are 29th, which bleeping sucks. Pittsburgh is 2-3 in their last 5, but they have won 2 in a row in impressive fashion. 3-2 over Montreal and 3-0 over the Winnipeg Jets after the break here. Not bad, eh? Wild are, we're 3-2, which is nice because we beat Carolina, Washington, and Chicago after that just 2-game debacle. Nashville and Anaheim. Oh, how did it into the All-Star break? Yeah, they were already at the All-Star break. They were already in it in those games. Not trying to be funny, it's a fact. Freaking horrible. Tristan Jarry, if I'm saying it correctly, finally, after all these years, he has 6 shutouts on the season, so he's been definitely carrying the Pittsburgh Penguins in terms of, he's stopping the puck. I'm not sure what's going on with their offense, yet these guys are healthy. And they have Erik Karlsson. They have Erik Karlsson, who's an offensive defenseman, like elite offensive defenseman, and still Tristan Jarry with 6 shutouts on the season. 916, goals against average of 2.45, though that does reek like he might have some crappy games mixed in there. Alex Nedkovic, he's the one that actually beat the Wild last time around. 8-3 on the season, 2.6 goals against average, and he also had a shutout. Save percentage of 91.8, not bad. Sid no longer the Kid Crosby. 27 goals, 24 assists, 51 points in 47 games. Still, obviously first ballot Hall of Famer, probably unanimous decision. Probably like Mariano Rivera style. Like how would you not vote for Mariano Rivera? Especially if you're, it was like it's like the Yankees won. they're up going into the 9th inning, except in Game 7 of the 2001 World Series. That was very weird. Ricard Raquel, former Duck, only 18 points in 35 games. Riley Smith, the former Stanley Cup champion, Vegas Golden Knight, he's been very disappointing pretty much. Only 20 points in 41 games. That's not good. Jake Gensel, 22 goals, 28 assists. Definitely helps that he's healthy as he missed time last couple of years off and on. 50 points in 47 games. And Malkin, who missed like 1,000 games in his career, 16 goals, 24 assists, 40 points in 47 games. Just getting older, and it's obvious. They're definitely getting older. And then some other kind of, random guys like Jeff Carter, like no offense to them. It's just kind of random, or they were names on other teams and they're not as good now. Riley Smith, what the hell? Ricard Raquel, what the hell? Stuff like that. So it's a weird situation, you could say, at the end of the day. Can the Wild win this game? Sure they can. Will they? Does it matter? You know what I mean? It's like it matters in a sense of like the whole feel good thing, and I don't know, but a lot of us really want that draft pick. Pacers were okay. Well, we'll get off of that. Basketball trade deadline. Yeah, just like I was talking about Rudy Gobert and Brave the Wild, State of the Wild. Remember Derek Felska? The summer of 22, the Timberwolves made the Rudy Gobert trade right during the show. It's like I started stuttering all over the place. No, not Wolves related. Sorry. So if it's Wolves related, I might mention it, especially if it's really important, like that one. Pittsburgh, they have a good record. That's the funny thing. Eastern Conference, it's tough to get to the postseason right now in the Eastern Conference. And I'll always say this: how just like you're going to read in that book, the Mirage to Destiny, that type of thing. How all you had to do was basically finish 4th of 5 teams to make the postseason back then. Where now it's like light years from that, and people still talk as if you only have to win a couple games to make the playoffs. It is an accomplishment to make the postseason. It is an accomplishment. So when the Wild made it, it's better than it used to be. It's just the immediate, it's almost like you get nervous, like somebody's completely prepared for an interview or a test or whatever the heck it is, and then here it comes, and they just bomb it. And it's like, come on. That's kind of what it's been like with the Wild in the postseason. Because maybe just not the right lineup and this and that, not the right mix to really make a serious run. And the other team did have the right mix. Wild will beat the Pittsburgh Penguins. I'll just say it. Yeah, the Wild will beat the Penguins. Final score, gosh, the way things have been going, especially if Tristan Jarry's in that as well. 2-1. 2-1. Most likely guy to score. Marco Rossi. Marco Rossi will score in the game. Let's go with that. He's due. He needs to score. Vegas Golden Knights. Doesn't get much easier. The team we used to beat every single time we played them, even though they were the best team in the Western Conference practically that year when they first were getting started. Not quite the case anymore that we're beating the Golden Knights. They're beating us usually nowadays. Two guys that I haven't really heard a whole lot about with the Vegas. Dorofeyev, Jan 6, okay, out for that game. Why aren't they saying anything after that? So who knows? Tobias Bjornfot, no relation to Bjorn Borg. Injured reserve as of Jan 13th. Jack Eichel, very, very important player there. Obviously helped them win the Stanley Cup. Top line center and lived up to it last year in the playoffs. Jack Eichel had successful lower body surgery and will be out week to week, according to the Vegas Golden Knights. That was of Jan 13th. Okay, so interesting. Logan Thompson's been seeing action in that again, but I suppose he did last year, just not during the postseason. Vegas is 10th in goals, 8th in goals against, 19th best power play, 13th best penalty kill, 13th best about staying out of the box, so on and so forth. The Wild have not played it, and I didn't think we did play the Golden Knights yet. Monday, February the 12th, Saturday, March the 30th, and April 12th. Pretty big gaps in between, except the last two, I guess. Vegas did beat the Edmonton Oilers. They ended the winning streak just recently on February the 6th, 3-1. So that's what the All-Star break did to the Oilers. It's like, oh, you're on fire, the hottest team in the NHL, like a historic winning streak, 16 games. And Edmonton's still not even in first place. Like when the Twins won 15 games in a row back in 91, they were in first place, and they stayed there the rest of the season. Got scared a couple times with the White Sox, and but then they took care of business versus the Oakland A's. But there I go back to 1991 again with the Twins now. Because that win streak was insane. It just shows how bad Edmonton was before the win streak. Like, they were out. They were down where we were, pretty basically, weren't they? They were not good. And now, I think they were below us at certain points of the season. Especially during our 11-3 run at the beginning of the John Hines era. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why Edmonton. It's funny, but we'll see if they actually have a magical finish to the season after that. Vegas Golden Knights against second place in the Pacific Division behind Vancouver. I wouldn't be surprised if Vegas beat Vancouver in the postseason though, like second round or something. Would not be surprised at all. And oh, by the way, Sidney Crosby agrees with us about the 1 through 8 playoff seeding. Thank you, Sid. Yeah, I don't like being stuck in the division. It was fun for a while. It kind of brought back old memories like the St. Louis Blues and the North Stars and the Blackhawks, the Blues and the Blackhawks, and da-da-da-da-da. All those classic old matchups back in the old days. Who was the other team that usually made it? Detroit, yeah. Duh. Detroit, yeah, they were in our division back then, of course. And then you have like one other team like Toronto, it was Toronto for a little while there in the Norris division, as we called it. It was fun and it brought back memories, but now it's like, I don't know. I think we can go to 1 through 8. I think it'd be better. You might get some more interesting matchups instead of the same old thing over and over again. I mean, rivalries are fun, but eventually it's like, come on. You get tired of it after a while. You can renew the rivalry at any time. It can happen at any given year. You're going to match up in a huge second round or even a conference championship, which I think would be pretty cool. Why the hell not, if it came to that at the end of the day. So, yeah, they should do that. I strongly agree. So, Sid agrees with us. Anyhow, yes, and we lost to Vegas, and we got to go out of our division. We lost. Of course we did. Yeah. Damn it. It was a good series, but it didn't finish well. Vegas Golden Knights will beat the Minnesota Wild, in my humble opinion. Aiden Hill, wow. 1.88 goals against average, 93.8 save percentage, and 2 shutouts on the season. He's only started 18 games. Logan Thompson has resumed his starting role for the most part. But geez, Aiden Hill. But heck, if he's going to be that good as a reserve, what the hell? 13-2. I mean, that's a Stanley Cup run right there. And that one won't be a mirage, by the way. Jeez. Wow, that guy's, after that Stanley Cup run, my goodness. Not Stanley Cup final run, a Stanley Cup run. 16-10. Sorry, I'm stammering all over that place because there's some background noise here again. 2.77 goals against average. Save percentage of 90.6 for Logan Thompson. Mark Stone staying healthy. Good for you. 50 points in 51 games. 35 assists. He's an amazing passer. It's not just a stat. Love what he does out there. For the longest time, I kept thinking, because I didn't watch him close enough, say with Ottawa and such, in his first few games with Vegas, and I kept like, what's all the fuss about Mark Stone? Like, what an amazing player he is. He's not dominant. He's not, he's not getting like 100 points and stuff. Then you watch him, and it's like, okay, I get it. And yes, captain, like how they screwed around naming a captain forever, just like the Minnesota Wild did. Not as long though. Mark Stone, yeah, perfect. When he was healthy last year, I'm like, oh my, they just might do something. And they did. They finally did. Congratulations. I know finally you're all laughing at me like, what is he talking about? It was a new team still, basically. But, I don't know, when you have opportunities and don't capitalize on them, it does feel like it's become a journey. And that's more in terms of the players rather than the actual franchise itself. It's the players on the team that I was talking about. I was like, finally, But the Vegas Golden Knights will beat the Minnesota Wild. Unfortunately, 4-2 is my prediction. 4-2, 3-2, something along those lines. The most likely guy to score in the game will be Kirill Kaprizov. Okay. Kirill Kaprizov. Big shocker, right? But this is the game I think he'll score in. Everything's stopping. That's always a great sign. There's at least one more game to talk about. Arizona. Why isn't it coming up? But something went wrong here. Arizona Coyotes. Oh boy. Well, that's where Aiden Hill first came from. But I remember him beating us with Arizona in the past in one of those trap games. Connor Ingram is their goalie, obviously, and he had a big game against us. Didn't he shut us out? God, gee, man, didn't we lose 6-0 to this team? 2.61 goals against average, 91.6, 5 shutouts on the season, including against us. So he's kind of like Tristan Jarry, pardon me, for the Tristan Jarry for the Penguins. Jeez. Clayton Keller, 45 points in 48 games. Schmaltz is alt, former Blackhawk, 29 points in 45 games. This thing's acting up, man. I don't understand why it's doing this. Yep, so my apologies. Arizona's 24th in goals, 12th in goals against, 13th best power play, 18th best penalty kill, 30th in penalty, worst 30th best team in staying out of the box. So, yay. Yay for them, I guess. Okay, now things are moving. I don't know what that was all about. The Coyotes have lost 3 games in a row. They have not played since the All-Star break. So they'll open things up with the Vegas Golden Knights, the Nashville Predators, the Philadelphia Flyers, and then the Minnesota Wild finally. This will be, I believe it's Wednesday. Pardon me, Wednesday the 14th. Happy Valentine's Day in Arizona. Yikes. Happy Valentine's Day in Arizona, huh? Well, Mullet Arena. Obviously, gotta love that name. Adam Ruzicka, not injury-related. Okay. Travis Dermott did not play Saturday, 27th of January. Troy Stecker, pardon me, injured reserve. That is a defenseman of Arizona. Jan 22. Yes, there was a 6-0 loss to the Arizona Coyotes. So we all remember very, very warmly. Wonderful game. So warm that we burned the house down with anger. That's how warm we remember it. Warmly. Saturday, Jan the 13th. Wow. Anyhow, then you have Valentine's Day Wednesday, Thursday, March the 7th. That's also in Arizona. And remember the Wild game, the one we lost 6-0 was in Axel Energy Center. Followed by, followed by a derecho of booze. Derecho of booze. Tuesday, March the 12th is the season finale where the Wild will probably not win the season series, but I guess we'll see. Arizona's got some, obviously, Minnesota ties. We're happy about it, I guess. Oh, a reunion with Matt Dumba. Why? 44 games, 5 points. Yeah. Does that entice you somehow? And I know he's more steady than John Merrill and Goligoski. I know. but better than John Marilyn Goligoski. I don't know. I mean, maybe this other guy is too. Nick Bukestad had a hat trick against the Wild in that game. Remember, 10 goals, 17 assists in 48 games for the Bugler. He obviously slowed down a bit. He was off to a pretty hot run with Arizona. He's certainly slowed down since that day. Logan Cooley, the former Gopher who missed the net in a game that should have been the clincher, and the Gophers should have been national champions. I don't know. I'm still not bitter about that. I mean, I'm going to probably remember that forever now. Every time I see Logan Cooley. Dang it. Come on, Logan. Jason Zucker, 7 goals, 10 assists, 17 points in only 38 games. He's missed time, but not that much. Jack McBain, who, obviously demanded a trade, which is hilarious. 6 goals, 9 assists, 15 points in 33 games. Yay. That's all you got to say about that. Will the Wild avenge their loss versus the Arizona Coyotes? I don't think so. It's a funky matchup. It really is. 6th place in the Central, 22 wins, 22 losses, 3 ties or shootout. No, not ties. It's not. That's the really old days. Shootout / overtime losses. No, I think it's. We're tied with them. Do you realize that? But they have 2 games in hand. So okay. So yeah, because they haven't played a single game yet. So since the All-Star break, but they'll get caught up in games here pretty quick. At least I think so. Whatever. Yeah, we're 5 points behind Nashville. It wasn't 4 or 5. Nashville is a playoff team, believe it or not. Despite their record's not that great, they're only 3 games above 500. Now Arizona's only 1 game above 500, and we have the same point total. I don't know what to say. I just think Arizona wins the game. I guess like 4-1 or something like that. I don't feel good about it. And 4-1. Arizona's going to beat the Wild. The only guy to score for the Minnesota Wild will be Boldy. End the dang drought again. These ongoing droughts. Come on, Boldy. End the drought, hopefully. Maybe the Wild win 4-1, but I'm going to go with Arizona. It's not because they're great at all. It's just, I don't know, we just don't play well against this team. Like memory serves. And that 6-0 loss is still sticking in my craw, if you couldn't tell. Because it's one thing, okay, keep on losing, what the hell, let's just get as high a pick as possible. But it's like 6-0 though. That's just against a team that's as mediocre as Arizona. I don't know. Some talented players, sure. But when you think of great goalies, you don't think of Connor Ingram. I'm sorry, maybe Jake Ottinger or something. I can accept a shutout by him. Connor Ingram, he has 5 shutouts on the year. I guess he's one of those hot, cold kind of guys. So that's part of it. Like the guy in Pittsburgh, who's actually probably a little bit better at it, generally speaking. Arizona 4-1. So with that, let's jump into prospects as soon as possible. Possible. I do not see the Wild as a playoff team. Sorry for my ultra negativity, but that's not negative anymore. It's just the way it is. Future, hopefully very soon, future Minnesota Wild center / forward, whatever. Bottom 6 to start out, I'm sure, but Minnesota Wild, not Iowa. Merit Huznadinov, if the rumors are true that he is coming very, very soon when the season ends at the end of February here. 21 years of age, yep, and a very fast skater, great defensively and all that. Two-way forward center for Sochi at this time in the KHL again. 6 goals, 10 assists, 16 points in 41 games, and looking forward to what he will do in the National Hockey League. Obviously, Dewar or Duhaime, there's a pretty good chance one of them won't be here next year. Pretty good chance. For that reason and others, obviously they might feel they have a better opportunity somewhere else. Being frustrated, stuck in the 4th line for everyone, they're probably better than that. Especially Dewar. Duhaime, I don't know. What does he have? 2 assists in 2 years or something? It's the craziest stat ever. He had 1 assist last year and 1 this year so far, which and last year he couldn't stay healthy. He had 9 goals and looked really promising, but couldn't stay healthy. So that's another thing with Duhaime. So we'll see. I have nothing against the guy. He's a cool guy. He's a talented player and all that, but I don't know. I don't know if his long-term future is in Minnesota. Let's take overseas for the memento. Let's wrap up with Europe. Let's go to Ogren now. Again, in the Swedish Hockey League, of course. Obviously, it's a professional league, so it's not like he's messing around in some minor league type of deal. 15 games now. Yeah, the games keep piling up, but the points not so much. 5 goals, 1 assist for 6 points. So he might be a little tiny bit longer to develop. Obviously, you're off. A lot of people talking about star potential and all that, including our guy, Michael Russo, of course. He had 2 assists in the World Junior Classic for the under-20s. He was the captain for the Swedish team with only 2 assists in 7 games. Sweden didn't exactly, dominated that, but USA did, believe it or not, which is pretty cool. We're capable of it sometimes. Sometimes USA is capable of winning those kind of tournaments. It's not like the actual Olympics, but we'll see. I guess Bill Guerin supposedly is going to be the general manager of that team again, so we'll see how that turns out. Danila Yurov, probably the highest ranked and highly top the skater in the Minnesota Wild grapevine that people are most excited about. Obviously, the other one is Jesper Wallstedt, who's not a skater, of course, he's a goaltender. We're going to talk about him in a minute as well. So, not quite as glowing as earlier in the season. 55 games, this is the KHL, again, for Metallurg. 21 goals, 25 assists, 46 points. And he's on pace to beat Tarasenko. Yeah, he's on pace to beat Tarasenko for the most goals for someone his age. So, in the KHL, it's just absolutely great. There's Minnesota Wild fans and MNW Young Guns saying, like, pump the brakes. Most of these guys don't live up to the hype. Well, thankfully, Kaprizov did. So we'll have to wait and see. It's ironic too. I hope it's okay to say the guy's name because it stood out to me. It said John Pohl, but it is not. I repeat, not the former Gopher captain Johnny Pohl, no, or captain or alternate captain, off and on throughout his Gopher career. National champions, of course, 2002. That would be my class if I went to the U of M, but I didn't. So 2 of 2. See, that would be my senior class if I was there, of course, because class of 98 in high school and all of that. Pretty cool, though, obviously. It was not John Pohl, but yeah, he's like saying basically pump the brakes. So, again, and I understand there's been a lot of prospects, especially with the Twins, but I mean with the Wild too. You get all excited about him, like Adam Beckman looked like he was going to light the world on fire. He's not. But this guy is playing in the KHL. KHL is better than the AHL, and it's way the heck better than the Western Hockey League. So that's where I have a lot more confidence in Danila Yurov versus, say, an Adam Beckman. Like, when you're coming out of juniors, like scoring 100 points in the juniors versus being this competitive in the KHL where, guys don't score as much usually in the KHL. They just don't. Kirill Kaprizov wasn't owning the KHL. He was in terms of KHL numbers, he was fantastic, yes. But he certainly didn't own the league or anything crazy like that. So, obviously, I would say Danila Yurov is the number 1 prospect in the Minnesota Wild organization at this time, over a certain goaltender, believe it or not. At least for right now. Hopefully that certain goaltender can reemerge, or at least be, like 1A and 1B with Danila Yurov at the end of the day. So, should I look at someone else real quick? Just in case, like one in a small amount chance he still comes to Minnesota. A few years older, of course. That'd be Vladislav Firstov, who's also in the KHL. And he certainly turned it up. He's turned it up, as they might say in Aussie. Turn it up. 59 points, 59 games, 59 points. That'd be amazing. 59 games, 17 goals, 15 assists, 32 points. But still, again, so he's years older than Danila Yurov. Yurov was actually pretty clutch in the postseason as well, so if I remember correctly. Or no, I got him mixed up with someone else. So let's move on. I'm thinking about somebody completely different. Jiminy Christmas. But, he's doing something. And yes, I do have the section brackets up a bit as well for a question coming from Derek. He's laughing at me for trying my darndest to answer the question he's going to come up with. Yeah, well, that's how it goes, huh? That's how it goes. What am I doing? Iowa. So Nick Patan, of course, still leading the club in scoring. Iowa's still kind of meh and mediocre. But what really, stood out to me was eye-popping in a negative way. Alarming. Now, at least it wasn't his most recent game, but his second most recent game. Jesper Wallstedt. Remember how he gave up 7 goals versus the Dallas Stars, and that was his only game in the NHL, and it's just like, that sucks. The players let him down, they sucked and all that stuff. It's not all his fault, but at the same time, that's not fun. Not a fun way to start your NHL career. Since then, he's not been real good. Obviously, he's been giving up 4 goals, 5 goals, 3 goals, 4 goals, 5 goals, pretty much since being down in the AHL. And in random call up, but just kind of sitting behind Fleury or Gustafsson, depending on who's been out, because it's been both of them. Jesper Volsteed gave up 8 goals versus the Henderson Silver Knights on February the 2nd. 8 goals. Goals against average 2.83, 12 and 11 win percentage or whatever, record anyway. Save percentage of 90.7. Obviously, everything way down because of that. 8 goals. 8 goals. So, and I don't know, you don't usually think of Vegas having a spectacular farm system or anything. They're kind of a win-now franchise, aren't they? Like, haven't you noticed? But I suppose some of the, it doesn't mean their minor league team is going to suck or anything. 8-1, too. It was an 8-1 game. Just awful. Thankfully, he rebounded with a better performance after that, giving up, I believe, just 2 goals in a loss, unfortunately, because the freaking offense did the same thing they did in the 8-1 game. They scored 1 goal because Iowa is not good. Not good, really. They're just not, I don't know. And obviously, players are out all the time, but welcome to the AHL. Players are always missing because NHL players are out. You got to have replacements, but that is the AHL. It's not new. It's not new. It happens. That's what they're there. That's what the AHL is. It's what the AHL is. Obviously, young guys developing, and certain more senior young players are going to get called up when other players are injured or out or whatever, or just like, hey, let's give this guy a shot. Maybe he's going to outplay this other player who's been disappointing, and we're going to scratch X player and call up this other Z player or Y player. That type of thing, if I'm saying that correctly. Back to the Iowa Wild, Patan is the leading scorer, 28 years of age. Kind of a quad A type of guy, unfortunately, even though he's had moments in the National Hockey League. Sammy Walker, we'll see. But now it's going to be Adam Beckman's shot instead of Sammy. Sammy stays in the AHL, with 6 goals and 19 assists. Unfortunately, that sounds familiar. Fogarty's had a few moments, but he's 30. He's 30 from Pennsylvania, Chambersburg, Pennsylvania. So, 9 goals, 11 assists. Beckman's got 1 less assist and same amount of goals, again, at age 22. So still, hopefully still young enough. There's still room for improvement. There's still room for growth. There's still this and that for Adam Beckman. And hopefully he can get going in the right direction. Man, Johansson is minus 25. Iowa's not been good this year. I mean, they don't score and they give up goals. And they had that 8-1 loss to the Henderson Silver Knights, unfortunately. That was extremely disappointing. Damon Hunt's still stuck at 9 points now in 23 games. He's had a lot of time up in the NHL, but most of it's been in the press box, or scratch, or whatever. Yeah, it is the press box, which is annoying. Carson Lambos is the leading scoring defenseman, and he has been at the... He's been in the AHL for 42 games this year. He's actually second on the team in games played. Only Johansson has 1 game more overall. Caden Bankier, also 10 points now, after missing about half the season, but all right, 5 goals, 5 assists, good for him. Getting Bankier, getting rolling a little bit, so on and so forth. But generally speaking, the production has not been there offensively, and then they've been giving up bunches and bunches and bunches of goals, which is bullcrap. Mason Shaw, 4 goals in 7 games so far. Good for him. He did have a multi-goal game early on, returning from 4 ACLs. 4. His 4th anyway. Obviously, he already had returned from the previous 3. And was a bit of a mainstay in the NHL. Unfortunately, was getting scratched a bit as well at times, and then the ACL happened late last winter, right about this time, right? About a year ago, right around this time. I think it was in March, actually. So, yeah. So we'll move on from the Iowa Wild and possibly dig a little bit into the, what do they call themselves? The Iowa Heartlanders. I was making fun of how, 2 Iowas and 2 Wilds. It's like, come on. It's weird. Pavel Novak, 18 games, 7 goals, 4 assists for 11 total points. Obviously, again, coming back from that cancer situation. And Kyle Mostas, who's also in the ECHL with 9 games now. 9 games there. 2 goals, 3 assists. Again, trying to hit a couple of home runs and get his batting average up. I'm just playing around. But, getting sent down to, build some confidence. That's the whole point of raising your batting average. Maybe hit a couple homers, or strike some people out if you're a pitcher. I'm just imagining that would be like the goaltender. Hunter Jones has been down there. At least his goals against average is gradually improving. And the Iowa Heartlanders, have been a little better. Drew DeRitter has been a nice positive. 7 wins and 3 losses. 2.94 goals against average. Even that's not real good. And then, how do you not think of Tyler Ennis when you see Ty Ennis? Ty Ennis? How do you not think of that? But it's Ty Enns, I guess, so it's close. Max Diem, he was traded away recently to the Penguins in order to get Will Butcher, who's been with the Iowa Wild. But I believe Chrysler is the most likely guy to skate with Minnesota, not with Iowa when it comes to the Wild coming forward. So either way, they'll be on the Wild, but one of them will be on Minnesota, one will be in Iowa going forward. Again, the whole name debacle that I like to make fun of. That wraps up that. Let's look around a tiny bit more. Sorry if I drag this out all the time, but I like looking at these players. Obviously, Benoit, North Dakota, 1 point in 14 games, 1 assist. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. Jack Pert, 2 goals, 5 assists, 26 games for the St. Cloud State Huskies. Again, will they be in the tournament? Probably. We shall see at the end of the day. At least the Gophers are moved up to 8th now, I believe. They've been kind of creeping up. We were 12th a couple of weeks ago, or a few weeks ago now. Gophers have been creeping up. Definitely been playing better. We technically won the series versus Wisconsin. Technically, because it was like a regulation win and or was it a flat-out split? I think it was a regulation win and an overtime loss. So I think technically that's like a win, kind of. Or is it a split? I don't know. It's a win. I'll just call it a win, regardless if I'm sounding stupid or not. Petrovsky, pretty much point a game center, slightly above now for the Owen Sound attack of the OHL. 13 goals, 26 assists for 39 points. Good for you, Owen. Spacek, obviously, again, he's with Iowa. I actually didn't talk about him. He's been, he had 2 goals in the ECHL. It's like hitting a couple of homers there in just 3 games earlier in the year. Now in 33 games for Iowa. Spacek has 6 points in 33 games. But one statistic that I think has got to count for something. It needs to. When you look at, guys like Simon Johansson, minus 25, Ryan O'Rourke, minus 21, right, for Iowa. Spacek, minus 5. Minus 5. Impressive. That's actually pretty good when you consider it's like 15 to 20 less goals against with him on the ice. Does that count for something? I think it does. I do. Reger Lorenz. Yep. I mean, it's it's okay. 28 games, 8 goals, 9 assists for 17 points. Again, not dazzling at all. Obviously, it's one of the best programs in the history of college hockey with the Denver Pioneers. Hunter Hit with 55 points. I wish it was 55 goals. Saginaw Spirit, OHL, 48 games, 55 points, 21 goals. So that's nice. Yurov and Ogren. Jimmy Clark. Yep, he was a factor against Wisconsin, and that was nice. Had some good games against them this past weekend. 28 games so far, 4 goals, 5 assists for 9 points. He's also plus 5 for the 8th ranked team in the country. Hopefully the future national champions still. Could happen. Kalen Parker, Moose Jaw Warriors, 30 points in 44 games. He is a right shot defenseman, by the way. And he's a plus 9 versus a minus 6 last year. So that's always interesting. That's obviously, again, improved play that doesn't always show up in the stat sheet, but it kind of does, at least in that statistic, at the very least. Aaron Pionk from Hermantown, playing for the U of M, University of Minnesota Duluth, UMD, at 21 years of age, 14 points, 1 goal, 13 assists in 27 games. Riley Height, I would say he slowed down a little bit, but still dominating the WHL, the Western Hockey League. But again, Adam Beckman dominated the WHL, so again, you have to be careful. Western Hockey League, 48 games, 27 points, 57 assists. There might be more with this guy, and I hope there is. Both of them are kind of early to mid-roundish. I believe Adam Beckman was a 3rd rounder, if I remember. Yeah, so where Height is a little bit higher at 2nd round, 64th overall. We'll see. Obviously, we just don't know. Kumpalainen was taken ahead, and he's slightly less than a point a game now. 39 games, 20 goals, 17 assists for 37, but he is a plus 6 on the season for the Oshawa Generals of the OHL, and Charlie Strumel still stuck at 7 points on the season. 22 games, 3 goals, 4 assists. Doesn't really stand out. Doesn't really stand out. Didn't see anything too exciting or hear about anything too exciting either when we were mostly relegated to radio, most of us, in a lot of ways, last weekend with the Gophers and the Badgers. Impressive weekend for the Gophers, but I don't know. Unfortunately, couldn't finish that stupid second game. Hitting the post about 5 times. Come on. And you lose 2-1 because of a bleeping shootout. That was a shootout loss. Yeah, that was dumb. I hated it. With that said, so we're going to take a quick break and come back and look at fan interaction. And we are back here on Fan Interaction. We're going to refer to the Twitter, of course, or the X quite a bit here, of course. That's usually where we go. At Brave the Wild, and I really do appreciate the interaction from you out there on X. So we will open things up with a poll that I put out last week. What did you do during the NHL All-Star Game? The options were watch it, watch the NBA, go outside, watch them, or watch a movie/video games. Like play video games. Well, apparently go outside was number one, and I would have voted for that as well. 50%. Pretty cool. That one didn't get as many votes, but I think it didn't last as long either. So my apologies. I should have let that one play out a little longer. I made a mistake a little bit there. Go outside. 50% watch it and watch movie/video games. 20.8. A tie there. And watching the NBA. 8.3. Dead last. No actual comment there. Derek also posting one for his show, Crease and Assist, the Crease Assist podcast, but it's at Crease Assist for the Twitter. Which Minnesota Wild prospect has you most excited about their future potential? Can only pick one. If it's not the one listed, reply and tell us. Number one with the bullet was Danila Yurov, and I agree, 70.4%. Jesper Valstid, who again I'm concerned a bit about because that's scary, what's been going on. 18.3%. Height is ahead of Ogren. Yeah, but I suppose Ogren hasn't done much this year. He really hasn't. 9% for Height and 2.3% for Liam Ogren. 2.3% for Liam Ogren. But yeah, he hasn't done much in the Swedish Hockey League. Nothing yet. And of course, that shoulder injury certainly didn't help either. Let me just make sure I'm not missing something. Okay. We will get to the... Yeah, there's one other thing I will miss if I don't get to it. Well, no. Oh, my God. Where'd it go? There it is. So I'm going to handle that the way... Yeah, I'll have to go back and forth. So let's get to the actual hashtag BGWMN first. And then when I get to Derek's question about the women's or / girls high school hockey, I'll admit I'm not a big, huge, giant high school fan. So I'm just being honest. But... I keep up with it a little bit, and I generally watch the boys more than the girls. I apologize if that doesn't sound good, but I do. I'm sorry. I'm just being honest. I also was talking about, no comments on the previous episode, but some retweets. I should shout out to the people that retweeted, because you know how much that means to me? It means a lot. Why can't it just show me? Sorry, reposts anyway. Derek Felska retweeted the most recent episode. Western Wisconsin and host of the Crease Assist podcast. Emin Johan, thank you very much for retweeting the most recent episode, repost. And Jay Bushy also retweeting/reposting. Thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate that. So I should give you a shout out and a thank you much more often for that. I was also saying, so what happened last week, the show actually didn't post until I believe it was Friday morning. Yeah, before that 8-goal debacle against Jesper Valstid. I was saying my deep apologies. The episode that I thought I'd uploaded yesterday was saved as a draft this whole time. It's uploaded now. Really sorry about that. So that was kind of like, oh, crap. Derek Velska said, lucky me, I decided to save it for a car ride to a high school hockey game tomorrow. Glad I didn't decide to listen to it yesterday. I did finish up listening to the video game flashback episode, though. Thanks for letting us know. And yes, you're welcome. And hope you like the video game flashback. I'm working on Zelda Link's Awakening at the moment. Yeah, okay. I was asking him how he liked it. The most recent one was a Final Fantasy Mystic Quest. That's for the Super Nintendo, of course. He was saying it was fine. I don't recall anything technical going wrong, like a long space of dead air. Okay, yeah, I don't do that type of thing. At least I hope not. I could tell I was holding myself back a bit as I tried to avoid making it a walkthrough podcast. Yeah, see, that's what I'm trying to do when I do video game flashback. I'm trying to not turn it into a bleeping walkthrough, because obviously that probably could get really boring, unless it's on video, YouTube. But even that would get boring after a while. Albeit helpful, though, as walkthroughs can be helpful on YouTube, probably more than just an audio podcast. Say, like finding the sting spell on Secret of Evermore. I believe I help people find that anyway, though. Let's get to the actual conversation. Again, hope you like this show. Hope you do like video game flashback. And again, I am working on Zelda Link's Awakening for Game Boy/Game Boy Color. I am using the Game Boy Color version for the episode that I am doing. Anyhow, because yes, I do other podcasts, yes. Here we go. Derek Pelska opens up the he opens up the conversation, and it is the Derek Pelska lightning round returning yet again. Let's rock and roll. Nikita Kucherov, angered some by his lack of effort in the NHL skills competition. Is that a poor reflection on him, or is he simply being honest at how little he cares for it and wanted to provide a reason not to be selected in the future? It's kind of like a combination of both. It would be nice, like at least I don't know. I mean, the skills competition is kind of fun. Like, what's wrong with it? I don't know. I think that kind of stuff is sort of fun. Yeah, I think the fans have a right to be annoyed with it a little bit because they did pay to see it. You know what I mean? So I think the fans have a right to be frustrated. Though, I mean, if he doesn't want to go, maybe he could just decline. I mean, is it going to kill anybody? Would it kill him, or would it kill the NHL if he declined and someone that wanted to be there got to go? Because maybe somebody wanted to be there. Maybe somebody's okay with it. They're like, oh yeah, I'll go. What the heck? Maybe some young player that's up and coming that wants to kind of, show what he can do, that type of thing. I'm sure there's some people that would want to be there. Obviously, there's others that had vacations planned and all that. I don't know. It's frustrating. I can understand how maybe players would rather be resting and all that such, and how the quality of a lot of these All-Star games and has just gone down the toilet over the years. Like the NBA All-Star game used to be really good and very competitive, but that was about 30 years ago now, in the early 90s. NHL game has always been kind of like, 13 to 12. It's like, what the heck? And the goalie usually gets screwed up during the course of games like that. You hope they don't get injured or anything. Sheesh. Okay, anyhow, the baseball one was really always the best because it's still a game of baseball. You're still pitching, you're still hitting and all that. So that's probably why baseball has maintained its strength when it comes to the All-Star game. They call it the Mid-Season Classic. So that's probably why. Where football, you're trying not to get hurt. Basketball, hockey, you're trying not to get hurt. Baseball is still baseball, regardless. You still got to run sometimes to catch the ball. If it's, like hitting a gap or something, you still got to be able to hit a 90-mile-an-hour pitch and all that. So, yeah. You're still trying to strike out the batter if you're the pitcher, so on and so forth. Anyhow, and you're going against a real tough lineup if you're a pitcher. So that's why baseball has maintained its strength in the All-Star game versus these other sports. Yep. So that kind of got me going a little too much, in my opinion. I'm sorry, I'm babbling here, but I think fans have a right to be irritated with it a little bit. Again, like if you don't want to go, let someone who wants to be there go at the end of the day, because I'm sure there's got to be somebody. It can't be over 900 or whatever. Anyhow, Derek Felska, even if it's like Matt Boldy or somebody like that, like why the hell not? Derek Felska continues saying, what is your best memory of the Jacques Lemaire era of the Minnesota Wild? My best memory. Obviously, the playoff run is at the top, which is probably way too much of a low-hanging fruit. I like the press conferences, obviously there's that. So I'll put that aside because it's the low-hanging fruit. And because the playoff run was great, and he did an amazing job pulling the strings and guiding that team to the Western Conference Finals. It sucked the way it ended. But I don't know, everything seems to end its own way in this town. But no, the press conferences were spectacular. Always liked the way he would, all of a sudden, like an idea would pop in his head, like, oh, that, yes. Like he'd get a twinkle in his eye. That's something you always hear about. I wish I got to personally see it, but to hear about it, like, oh, he had that twinkle in his eye, like something, like he's got an idea. Something popped in his head, like, ooh, I think I have a plan. I think I have a plan for this. So that was pretty cool. Just kind of his personality. his personality and the way he was able to manage the game and teach the players how to win. Like he talked about in his initial press conference. He was an amazing coach who came from, an organization, as they would call it, that was the best. They were simply the best. The 1970s Montreal Canadiens were probably the best team in NHL history. The only other team that might compare to them, which unfortunately lasted a lot less, was the 80s Oilers. So Morty responds, and I want to include Morty in the group that says, hey, the show's out, or comment on the show, because I like what Morty has to say. At @NStarFan. My wife just liked listening to him talk. I like listening to him talk too. Yep, I like chocolate. Yep, I love the chocolate mare brought. Derek continues. Rumor has it we may see NHL 94 rebooted to be back on the PS5. Is that a good move, or should they let it stay in retro form only? I think it's okay. See, this way it could be an option. Yes, we personally, maybe like the SNES Classic. I have it in retro form in my SNES Classic. I do own the game, so I don't feel like I'm doing anything naughty, per se. I do own the game for Super Nintendo. I won, 6 Stanley Cups with the Stars or something back in the day. It was fun because the Dallas Stars were all we had, if you wanted to follow the North Stars still. And, you could pretend like Larry Murphy's back and Brian Bellows is back. Bring them all back from their different teams. Oh, man, that was fun to be able to do that. Dino Ciccarelli. And then win the championship with them. That was awesome. It's awesome. And then you bring Ed Belfour, too, stuff like that. So I think it's okay, because then it can maybe younger fans can appreciate the classic style that we had, and I still think is better. Like, realistic is nice and everything, especially with sports, I suppose. But I play video games for it to be a video game, where maybe it's realistic to a point, like a fast player's fast. The better shooter's the better shooter. Like, that's good. You want Jordan to be the best basketball player. You want Gretzky and Lemieux to be spectacular in a hockey game. But, but I'd rather have it be like more of a video game than like a movie. You know what I mean? I don't like how everything's kind of like a CGI movie nowadays. So, yeah, I think it's okay, even though retro is the best of all. Another celebrity name out there that's constantly okay. Anyhow, Derek continues saying Justin Bieber delighted some by skating out and warming up with players during the All-Star game. What celebrity, dead or alive, would you like to see out there warming up with the Minnesota Wild, or would you rather not see them at all? Generally speaking, depending on these young people, I'd rather not see them at all. These young people, yeah, I know. I'm an old coot. I know. I'm a bitter old man. Yes, I know. Justin Bieber, not a fan. Taylor Swift, don't get me started. It's like I like Travis Kelce even less. But then again, do I? No, I don't like either one. They're both like not for me at all. Never liked Eminem. It took about 3 seconds into the first thing I ever heard. I was like, oh, turn that crap off. Get out of here. Garbage. Now I just offended. I don't care. I don't like it. So too bad. You can listen to what you want to with your earbuds or earphones on, please, if that's okay. But celebrity could be anything. It'd be funny to see like a Arnold Schwarzenegger out there. No, it would be funny. But dead or alive? I don't. Dang it! It's like I wish I had something fresh on my mind. It's like because I saw this already, and it's just nothing came to my head for the longest time. It'd be funny to see like a Michael Jordan out there skating and warming up, or somebody like that, somebody unexpected. But maybe it'd have to be more of a, I don't know, like somebody that actually probably would be like they would fit, warming up with the Wild. It'd be entertaining to see like I don't know, like an Arnold Schwarzenegger or a Sylvester Stallone out there kind of like skating around or even pretending to be a goalie or something. It'd be interesting. It'd be kind of fun to see. I think it'd be one of those two guys, I think, is where I'm leaning at the end of the day. Here we go. Girls high school hockey section play started this week. Who do you think will win it all in Class A and Class AA? you. Let me tell you something. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just imitating a old politician that some of you may like. Not everybody, of course. Section A, girls hockey tournament. There's a couple of posts here, but I think the regular Section A, it's like a low-hanging fruit thing. But in high school and in college, it seems to be a few certain special teams that are always kind of way up there. And I'll probably bounce around and look at other things, but I actually pulled this up before you even sent me that other link as well that showed all the predictions. I think War Road is going to win for A. I just think it's War Road. I mean, it's going to, and I know it reeks of low-hanging fruit, but first of all, who hasn't heard of War Road? Obviously, there's Thief River Falls, Detroit Lakes. This is the 8A, and you can branch around. I mean, it shows why these players are so emotional when they do win, because you gotta go through a lot to get to the championship round. Look at all these games you got to play to get to the tournament and all that. You know, all these teams that are involved, and then you end up being number one. It's incredible. It's amazing. Northern Lakes Lighting. That sounds kind of like a cool name, huh? And I like that. But I think War Road wins for single A. As for double A, I know you're going to be like, come on, Joey, really? Yeah, I'm going to say it. Moorhead. Yep. You're like, come on. Yes, Moorhead. I know. They're like, it's like low-hanging fruit, but like when you think about high school hockey, you think about War Road and Moorhead. That's who I think are going to probably get it done at the end of the day. They're way at the top. They're pretty much number one for both sides and all that. They're number one for both groups, I guess. So they say a double A and single A. I think Duluth Northern Stars. Oh, I like that. But they're like an 8th seed though in 7A. So yes, I do have this pulled up a bit. So I did find the whole enchilada MSHSL Minnesota State High School League. Yes, and this is the girls section, of course. So War Road will win for single A and Moorhead for double A. That's where I'm leaning. It is what it is. That's kind of how I see it. I'm going to pull up that other group. Here we go. It's right there. It's called Her Ites. Well, who's her? No, I'm just kidding. So they have 1A Dodge County over in Albert Lee. There's some different kinds. Yeah, War Road, Moorhead. Yeah, they both have. So they have Peters Champ. Yeah, War Road. He has War Road winning, and they both have Moorhead winning for the A. So big surprise there. I think both of those teams end up winning the whole enchilada, in my humble opinion. But there's definitely going to be competition from teams like Minnetonka, Lakeville North in the Double A. Hill Murray obviously is a threat. Edina is forever a threat in every form, especially on the boys' side. Coming up later, I could see Holy Angels making a run. Hermantown on the female side, that's kind of cool. That's a 7A. So we'll just keep an eye out. I mean, it's cool to have this up and look at these schools because it's not like I haven't heard of them. And one that's kind of close to home here, Benilde St. Margaret's. I'd love to see them make a run. I remember they won years ago on the boys' side. They're right on the border of Golden Valley and St. Louis Park. They're Highway 100 area. I like Benilde St. Margaret, the Red Knights. So I'm a fan, actually. And I know a few neighbors in where I grew up there. Grew up a little bit closer to Highway 100. Well, actually, I'm close to Highway 100 now, too. But just a little bit further north in Golden Valley. At the moment, I'm really close to Highway 100. What am I saying? But it's further from Benilde St. Margaret, maybe an extra mile or so. But yeah, I mean, I know some neighbors there have their kids went to that school. I like Benilde St. Margaret a lot. I'd love to see them go on a run, but I got a feeling it's Moorhead overall for 2A. And War Road, Moorhead. Yeah, Moorhead for double A, War Road for single A. Again, that's just kind of where I'm leaning at this point. But I wouldn't be surprised if some of these other schools made things interesting for them. Holy Angels, I just had a feeling. That one keeps popping up for me. Got a feeling they got a chance at something. So we'll see. Hopefully that's a fun answer. You don't mind that I at least gave some effort. And I know you said I humored you by at least putting effort into it, so I wanted to. There's a little bit of conversation with the Jacques Lemaire question a while back. Let's see, I'm going to probably play around here for a second. Oh boy, let me see. Now I'm getting myself lost here. But that's the name of the game, folks. That's the name of the game. Oh, come on. Where did it all go? I might have to keep moving pretty quick here. I'll just see. Oh, there's only... Well, what the heck? Okay, we'll move on. That was a different conversation. Jay Bushy jumps... Nope, there's one other thing first. Derek says, it has been over 20 years since the Wild have last advanced beyond the second round of the playoffs. What year do you think it will happen when the Wild do that again? I'm going to go with... 25-26. 25-26, I think the Wild possibly could have something really cooking with some of these... a lot of these high-ranking prospects should be coming into their own at that stage, or not. But if they do, I think the Wild could go on a serious playoff run at that point. So 25-26 is what I'm hoping. And that's what Morty says. So good to hear from you, Morty, there. Yep, Morty agrees, apparently. So, yep. Because Morty responded. And that one, Jay Bushy jumps in, says, and great to hear from you, Jay, always. Really appreciate you. The last two games before the All-Star break were pretty uninspiring, that's for sure. I'm thinking we may get a lot of that in the last 33 games. Your thoughts? I think so. Like, even the game against the Blackhawks, 2-1, woohoo, you know. It could have easily been 3-2. Just imagine if Vinny Lettieri wasn't Johnny on the spot with that stop. So Blackhawks might have beaten us. It's just they're so, you know, out of it, basically. The Blackhawks are so far out of it that their season is literally terminal. Like, there's nothing you can do to fix it, where the Wild, it's like critical. And in medical terms, the Blackhawks are terminal. So, I mean, I think only scoring 2 goals against the Blackhawks. Peter Mrazek is a decent goalie, but it's the Blackhawks, and that's why Mrazek and others have been giving up 3 goals and beyond. So, yes, I do think so. Yes, that wasn't that good. It definitely wasn't that good of a game. So I'm sure Jay would agree with that, actually. Derek jumps back in, says... do the Wild not give enough of a chance to our young players, especially if you're not a young player who was drafted in the first round? Do we treat those later round players too much like disposable assets? I think so, yeah. I think a lot of them do not get a chance, and it's extremely frustrating. It's like, and we just love our veterans, and we just love to give them the no move clause this and no trade clause that, and it's extremely annoying. We love our guys, and then other players. Yeah, it does feel like that sometimes, where I think some of these younger players need to be given a chance. I know they're afraid. It seems like that they're going to fail, and that's the other side of it. So I think that the Wild need to open up things a little bit for some of these younger players. Some of them aren't ready, I understand, but others might be. To at least give them a shot. Like, I think guys like Walker. And it's time to say sink or swim for guys like Walker, Beckman, guys like that. Tony Perkle responds with, possibly, I would think it's wise to get the kids some meaningful minutes, especially when injuries thin the ranks. Yeah, some of these guys have more talent than the NHL, than on the NHL roster. Excuse me. It's better than when Jacques was coach, however. Yeah, because there was that a little bit sometimes. But no, yeah. Derek quickly replies with, Jacques Lemaire didn't have much young talent to work with because Tommy Thompson never gave the Wild much to work with beyond the player he took in the first round, if that. Very true. The drafting during the Doug Risebrough dumpster Doug era was flippin' horrible. Every time you look at the team, and obviously everybody beyond first round, you'd see first round pick, you know how they have the career numbers up to date depending on if the player's active or not. When you look at the Wild history, as I could even pull it up right now because it's here. I have it up every single show. Or I thought I did. Yeah, I do. It's just I pressed back too many times. Yeah, like you look at the year after year after year. You know, maybe in some rare cases, certain guys might have played a little bit in the later rounds, partially because they were just kind of older players that were thrown in, or maybe they wound up on different teams. But for quite a while there, after like at least the second round, there was nothing. It was awful. Like Christopher Westblom, ever heard of him? For third round pick, 65th overall by the Wild, 2005. Andre Fiala. I was like, Andre, it's like a different form of Andre Fiala. Ever heard of that guy? 40th overall, Everett Silvertips. Didn't play a game in the NHL. So obviously the drafting was awful. Sean Lorentz, Arrow Elo, that's a cool name. It rolls right off your tongue, but that's about it. Chris Fulcalt, 1 game. Matt Hackett, 2 of 26 games. He was a massive bust. He was traded, but that's once you get to Upchuck Fletcher. But the Rise Row era was pretty lousy, to say the least. So many players that didn't come close after the first round. Just in some rare cases like Gabrick and Schultz, obviously. Schultz was pretty average. Pretty average guy. Yeah, there wasn't a whole lot of young talent. I remember looking in those, the Cleveland Lumberjacks and eventually the Houston Aeros being pretty lame, honest to God. It was pretty lame. So I can understand the conversation back and forth there. I was saying great play, not play, started by favor. Whoops. Derek Felska was saying, admittedly, I went to bed after the first period. Yeah, I kind of fell asleep too, and I'm not kidding. I was kind of dozing off. Chicago was terrible, and most of our best guys looked like they were still permanently, mentally on a beach in Turks and Thiakos. The fourth landers bailed them out. Yeah, not a good look for a team, allegedly hoping to make a push for the playoffs. Nailed that, absolutely. I was saying Letary with 2 assists and a lead per serving save tonight. Derek Felska again says, good news for Vinny and Jake, Lucchini, but it probably will be used as justification to keep Beckman in the press box. That's what I was afraid of, yes. So, yep, that will wrap up the fan interaction segment. I can't thank you guys enough for listening to this show. Always, always, always. Really appreciate every one of you. No doubt about it. So, with that said, here we go. Just want to give shout-outs and thank you to every one of you. Obviously, MNW players / MNW Young Guns, Pavel Burnett, Justin Bakke. Really appreciate you guys. You do an amazing job. Obviously, Minnesota Wild Global, Scott Cavendish, Minnesota Wild Nation, Patrick Turner, coming in out of Florida. Really appreciate both of you guys. You do great Facebook pages, so major shout-outs to you. And, of course, Crease and Assist Podcast. Do a great job. Derek Felska, Kalisha Townsell, and Teresa Ferris. Hopefully I said that correctly. Really appreciate all of you. I think you do a fantastic job. And we'll be back to talk about the Minnesota Wild next week. Until then, take care, and we'll see how things go.